After the 49ers were utterly shut down by the Houston Texans on Sunday, you may be asking yourself, was it really as bad as it looked? On today's show, we'll go under the hood and go drive by drive to give you the answer to that question and more. What is good, everybody? Welcome to Under Review on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. That handsome young man is Vish Kumar. And Vish, how are you on this less than fine Monday?
Rob, I'm still recovering. I just got back from work like literally seconds ago. So it's like one of those things where I'm still thinking about that and haven't really settled into what the day is like.
If you are new to the show, this is where we take a deep dive on the Niners game that week. We go drive by drive through everything that happened, tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to do that in 1 second, but Kyle Shanahan did have his conference call, Vish. Couple of headlines coming out of that thing. First, Brandon Aiyuk's practice window is not going to open this week. Kyle Shanahan had said there was a chance of that, but now we know that is not happening this week. That's unfortunate. Brock Purdy may go against the Giants. Kyle Shanahan said it's not a long shot for him to play, whatever that means. So I guess we're going to wait and see. No word on Ricky Pearsall. He's going to be evaluated on Wednesday. That doesn't sound good. And I don't know that MetLife Turf is the first place you want him to be back. But that is sort of the headline updates from Kyle Shanahan's conference call.
Yeah. I think the same applies, as you mentioned, for Brock Purdy, right? I don't know if MetLife Turf is going to be the best case scenario to come back on a toe injury, but who knows for that. I don't know what else to say, Rob. Do you think
here's my question?
List is kind of depressing.
Yeah, and there were some other injuries coming out of the game. Samo, ankle day-to-day. Jordan Elliott, day-to-day ankle. D. Winters, knee day-to-day. Alfred Collins, shoulder day-to-day. Mac Jones, knee contusion. That's new, day-to-day. Aren't we all day-to-day? So Shanahan said he doesn't.
That is true. Kyle did say we don't know if you'll be alive tomorrow. So
right. Now, look, I take all this with a grain of salt. Ricky Pearsall had a, quote, minor PCL injury and hasn't played in a month. So, those are the guys that are hurt. That's pretty much all we can take from this injury report. But still very frustrating. I wouldn't expect much to change, quite frankly. I think we're looking at the same lineup rolling out on the field against the Giants.
I'd probably agree with you. I think Samo is probably a win. I think the nature of his injury did not look day-to-day. He got carted off, if I remember correctly, during the game. I think both him and Jordan Elliott were playing very good football for their standard and what you could expect from them. Probably two of the better players on this defense if you had to talk about the whole season. And so those are two tough losses. And then Alfred Collins had really come along. You could make an argument that Alfred Collins is the best rookie on the 49ers the last couple of weeks. And I thought it was interesting that Robert Saleh told the broadcast that he thought Alfred Collins could be a star. Because I don't think they were talking about Alfred Collins that way earlier in the offseason. And you see it. You see his size. Rob, you and I talked about this offline a few times when we talk about Eric Armstead specifically. Chris Sims always says it, right? Size is a skill. Like Eric Armstead isn't the most skilled football player, right? Like a miniature pass rusher, a smaller player wouldn't succeed if they had Eric Armstead skills. But the reason, the guy has started for so long and been an impact player, and frankly, a very good one, his whole career is there's not many people that are built like him that carry that sort of size and that have that strength. Like his shoulders, everything, it's a different sort of size. And it's the same thing with Alfred Collins. It's like you see the size and you see how impactful it is. And him and Jordan Elliott are the two big guys on this defensive line. And so that's a big loss. And I think we saw a little bit more success as this game went on. And those two guys got banged up with how Houston was able to run the ball. I know there was some stat with the 6 offensive linemen, but I thought that was more impactful.
Credit to Alfred Collins for gutting it out and coming back into the game also after hurting his shoulder. Johnny Dell of the Johnny Dell Football Academy, who does a show with me on Thursdays, a YouTube-only show. We break down Niners film, says The Sammo injury on tape didn't actually look too awful. His left foot rolled outwards. Looked awful for me, but that's why I don't play in the NFL. One of many reasons why I don't play, in fact, play in the National Football League. Benali says Mac Jones picks
That's
up a
the
third
only
injury.
one, Rob. It's the only
Right.
one.
It's the only one. Benali says Mac Jones picks up a third injury in 6 starts, and suddenly Purdy's not a stretch to play. Are they going to do the Jacksonville thing again? Yes, they are. It's what I said a couple of weeks ago. We're never having a quarterback controversy because they're never both going to be healthy enough at the same time for that. They're just going to bounce back and forth all year long. Brock will play, and then he'll be too hurt to play the next week, and that'll give Mac the week off to rest, and then he'll come back.
Which I don't think it is the ideal setup. Now, I have kind of 2 mirroring opinions on this. One thing is, Rob, I feel like, and this is just, I'm just going to opine, and this isn't about Brock Purdy or Mac Jones for a second. This is about quarterbacks in general. I don't think I've seen quarterbacks miss like more games in my life, except for the last 2 years for these, what I used to think of as, like a wide receiver misses games for a pulled quad, but your quarterback plays through that. A wide receiver misses, games for a hamstring injury, but your quarterback plays through that. And I'm not saying one is right or wrong. I'm just saying there was an NFL that I grew up watching from when I went from like a kid to teenager, where, Eli just started every game. Like Matt Ryan, he just started every game. Peyton Manning, he just started every game. And Tom Brady, sprained ankle, whatever you want, like they started every game. And this isn't about Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, because I think it's across the league where you're seeing a lot more, quarterback is gone for 2-3 weeks for sprained ankle. Like I used to never remember quarterbacks. They were either gone the whole year or they played through whatever, and they just kept playing week in and week out. So that's just,
you want to know why? Because
why?
those guys couldn't run. So they didn't need to, you had a sprained ankle. So what? Doesn't really matter that much. All right, you'll be slightly less mobile, but you stuck it out in there. But when running and mobility is a key part of your game, that pulled hammy, that sprained ankle, all that stuff becomes a bigger limiting factor.
I kind of agree, but I think even the pocket guys, dude, are missing it. Outside of Stafford, it's I'm listing a lot of the most. I mean, dude, but Favre, come on. Rodgers, I guess Rodgers had broken collarbone, stuff like that. But I remember a year he played on a torn groin the last 6 weeks of the year. I think they might have lost to the Niners. Torn calf. Sorry, not groin.
Never would have had the young Vish on the show as the old man yelling at the clock. Quarterbacks in my day played through injury. All right.
It's more just something I've come across, right? Because this year you have Joe Burrow, but I guess his turf toe is serious. But then you have JJ McCarthy. He had the sprained ankle situation. Jaden Daniels has had a couple of games with the hamstring. Lamar has had a couple of games. I think your mobility point is right on, and I don't want to belabor this because I don't think anyone really cares. But but I think the main thing is it's just something I've noticed recently. But the secondary point to me, and this is, Rob, I think what's more important is this is just not a great setup to have with your quarterbacks, right? Having them both banged up like this is not great. If you give your starter the time to get rest, you don't want to then force him to play because you feel like your backup is hurt. I feel like that's where you go to your third string. And then if your starter is playing, you don't want to do the thing where he plays, and then if he plays bad, we say he's hurt, and then we go back to the backup because he's here to start games for you at quarterback. So you get him healthy, and then you put him on the field, and that's that. He's your starter. And so that's really how I feel about it in theory. I know it's easier for us to opine than what actually goes on. Do they really want to start Adrian Martinez? I don't think Adrian Martinez even wants to go to the game the way he looks on the sideline. I think he loves being Mac Jones's cheerleader, and that's about it. But this is a really dangerous setup, and I understand the Niners are plagued in so many other areas. We watch, and I tweeted this yesterday, we watch a preseason roster, and I'm joking when I say this, but we watch them go out there and we think this can't get worse. And then the best players in whoever's out there, Alfred Collins is playing good football. All right, make him get banged up. That's what seems to happen every Sunday. And it's not funny, even though I'm laughing because I don't know how else to emotionally react to it because I'm actually really sad about it. But yeah, it's a very difficult situation. But at quarterback especially, I hate it.
It's so frustrating. That is the word of the year for the 49ers, is just flat out frustrating. Now, before we get to the breakdown of the game, which we are going to go through drive by drive, I do want to take a second here to remind you, please check out Sleeper this season. If you're making picks, you should be doing it with Sleeper because you can win up to 1,000 times your money. It's really easy. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout. Now, you got to pick guys from multiple teams. That's not really that hard, especially because we give you the picks on Fridays. We tell you who to pick. We've hit on 70% of those picks this year. So just trust us. And again, you could win big with Sleeper. And if you haven't signed up yet, if you do it now, even if you don't deposit any money, you'll still get a free $20 entry with Sleeper. And if you want to deposit some coin of the realm, as they say, just use our code GSP. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Again, that's our code GSP. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Vish.
You've been practicing that, huh?
It's kind of important. Want to make sure the sponsors are happy. Now,
is that you brush your teeth in the morning? Use promo code GSD.
It's GSP, you jerk. If you're gonna make fun of me, at least get the promo code right, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still in work mode. I was thinking GSD. That's our global service desk. Got me.
Worlds are colliding here on the podcast. Yeah.
Too many acronyms.
All right, let's dive into the game. There are not many days when what I do to earn money for my family feels like a job. Today was one of them, because rewatching this game was a slog. Let me tell you. We'll dive right in to the Texans' first drive of the day. A drive, mind you, that would last 16 plays, which was more plays than the 49ers would have in the entire first half of the football game. And it was just a lot of what we saw the entire day, Vish. No pressure on CJ Stroud whatsoever. No uncomfortability from CJ Stroud. He's moving the ball down the field. Even when they got him to 3rd and 11, Jair Brown misses a tackle. The drive continues. Ultimately, they go all the way down the field, and they kick a field goal right off the bat.
Yeah, I want to say this right off the top. If I wasn't a Niners fan, like, I would never watch this game. It's one of the worst games to watch. First of all, because Houston possessed the ball, and they kind of didn't do anything interesting. They just didn't get to 4th down until they had to kick a field goal. And the Niners didn't have the ball at all for essentially the whole first half. So it was like, what am I watching here? A little bit. And I will say one thing off the top, because I think it's the theme throughout the whole game. I thought this was the first time, besides when they played Stafford on that Thursday night game, that the Niners defense couldn't disrupt the quarterback at all. And I thought that was a little bit weird to me, because when I thought about this matchup from last week, the main thing I thought about, Rob, was that this is a quarterback that's been disrupted a lot. In fact, Seattle did that exact thing on Monday night to him when we were doing our show last week. And so I thought there was a good chance the Niners defense would be able to get to him. For some reason, they weren't able to disrupt him in any way at all the entire game. I wouldn't say he looked comfortable either, because it wasn't like he carved them up. It was just like he just took what was in front of him, The next thing you know, he has 30 completions for 300 yards. And so I think that was really the big thing, right? Can the Niners defense disrupt him? And they were unable to do that.
For the audio listeners, Jeff Deeney has the stat on the screen. On CJ Stroud's 28 dropbacks when the 49ers did not blitz, the Niners got pressure 3 times. 3 times. Pressure 3 times. Not quarterback hit, not a sack. 3 pressures on 28 dropbacks when they didn't blitz. They could not get there at all. And that's how you have a drive that goes 16 plays and lasts for almost 10 minutes. And good job of the Niners ultimately in the red zone to stop them. But, you know, it's a little easier to play defense when you got less field to defend. And so they held them to a field goal. But that was the tone that was set for the whole day. And the fact that the 49ers could not get pressure, any pressure at all, against this team who couldn't protect this guy to save their life against everybody else, I shudder to think when they actually face a team that can protect its quarterback with this group.
Yeah, and I think there's some reasons we can speak to real quick, but I mean, not that there's any 49ers drive really to get to on the next one. But
Right.
for me, one right off the bat is they're a really young defense the moment you remove Fred Warner from the equation, right? He's that veteran leadership to that defense. And you say, shoot, 12 o'clock start on the road after a pretty big momentum changing Sunday night win. It's just a tough turnaround for young players. They don't know what that's like, and they don't have Fred Warner to kind of settle them into what that's like. And then the second thing, Rob, is this is just the nature of who the talent is on this defense, right? They don't have any guys who, when the game script is not going their way, someone's going to win a one-on-one battle and kind of shift the momentum. They have a lot of guys who can ride the momentum if the game script is going their way. Like Sam O, the crowd's on his back. Bosa's got a couple pressures, that sort of thing, or the defense is going. He's a really good player in that sort of situation. But the moment it's just Sam O, Alfred Collins, and they got to generate pressure, and nobody's been able to do anything the whole game, and they've kind of accounted for certain things where they've created nice matchups, and the quarterback is able to have good vision on your defense a few times. They didn't have anybody that could make a difference or a game changer. There was one play made by a team captain later in the half that we'll get to, and it was a good play, but there was also an unfortunate, circumstantial mistake that I think came with it. Although on a rewatch, I'm not as sure, but we'll get there. So on to the 49ers 3-and-out without CMC getting a touch, Rob.
CMC did not have a touch in the entire first quarter because the Niners only had 2 possessions. But this was like indicative of things to come too. The first offensive play, the Niners line up in an illegal formation. The first play of the game, they're in an illegal formation. And then there's an offsides, and then Mac Jones scrambles on a little play action bootleg, and he runs for a first down. Juwan Jennings gets a face mask. That was the end of that drive. The Niners quickly punted. But it was very indicative of everything that the first time they tried to run an offensive play, they were in an illegal formation, and it's dead in the water.
Yeah, I agree. It was a rough first drive. Like, it finished as fast as it started, which was terrible for their young defense that was just on the field for, I don't know, what was it, like 10 minutes?
9:39.
9:39. There we go. And I think on top of that, Rob, the one thing I would like to touch on with that drive is they got a couple of good kick returns from Brian Robinson. This was one of them. I don't know what Sky Moore does on this team. I think Sky Moore is frankly terrible.
Yeah, that's true. There was a 30-yard kick return. I didn't even, this. I said this. We were in the upside down because the special teams was the best unit for the 49ers on Sunday, and it wasn't close. They were really good, the special teams.
Special teams has had some improvements, man. The kick coverage is still a little questionable. I don't get why. They're just not good at it. But now they're starting to have some decent returns. They had 2 from Brian Robinson in this game, and he's definitely looked the best of the guys they've had returning back. Dude, Sky Moore, I'm just not a fan.
No, there's a reason Kansas City let him go. All right, let's move on to the second possession for the Texans. And there are opportunities for the Niners defense to make plays in this one, and they just didn't. Again and again and again, they did not take advantage of them. This one, we saw Tatum Bethune. I don't know what he was doing. He's covering the running back, Woody Marks, and he's covering him, and he's covering him, and then all of a sudden he decides, I'm not going to cover him anymore. I'm going to try and go for a sack. And of course, he doesn't get home. And CJ Stroud says, oh, my check down is uncovered in the flat. And he throws like a 2-yard pass to Woody Marks, who then runs for 50 yards because everybody else is in man coverage way down the field. And he gets a 50-yard gain on a check down.
Yeah, I'm not as harsh on Tatum Bethune on this play. I'm not going to lie. My perspective, it's just a young player. Like, you want them playing kind of with the unleashed go that Tatum Bethune is playing, where if they see that they can make a play, they just go for it. Like, that's something you want. Like, you want to ride that sort of attitude in a player. But then at the same time, this is when you haven't played a lot of football and you think you're going to make a play that you clearly weren't going to make, because he was about 5-6 yards from Stroud. I don't know what he thought in terms of how quickly he was going to close him down and tackle him, and bang, big play. And dude, Marks probably moved the slowest down the field I've ever seen anybody move for 50 yards. It was like 50 yards of looking around like, is anybody going to come near me?
Johnny Dell says, worst thing about that play is we had other players run into each other down the field, and Stroud had 2 other guys open for bombs too. Not the only time 49ers defenders would run into each other on the day, by the way. Let me just point that out. Now, the Texans are now in the red zone. C.J. Stroud completely airmailed a second down throw where the guy was wide. C.J. Stroud did not impress me one bit in this game. Daryl Johnston kept talking him up like he was this amazing guy. He never had pressure. He had guys open all over the place. All he did was throw it to the open guy. Like, I was not impressed by Stroud. He airmailed a throw on second down. Niners hold him on third down. And Houston kicks another field goal, and they are now up 6-0. So despite some big gaffes by the 49ers defense, because they buckled down in the red zone, the offense is still one play away from taking the lead.
Yeah, and I think to your point, like in the red zone when there's less field to cover, Texans offense isn't that good. Like, we would see that. Like, in the red zone, they'd look pretty horrible each one of these times to settle for a field goal. That's what I meant. It's labored the way they got down the field. Dude, I thought Daryl Johnston was as bad in this game as the game itself. Like, I thought that played I thought the presentation of the game sucked, and I thought it was horrible to watch. And I totally agree with you on Stroud. It's funny. It's not like I've watched a lot of CJ Stroud in the last 2 years, but I did watch him a lot as a rookie. And he's not even close to the same player he was as a rookie. Like, as a rookie, he was decisive, was really accurate. In this game, I thought he missed. I mean, he's 30 for 39, but in that 39, he's missed some throws that are just like butt naked wide open, and he's just missed it for no reason in this game with no pressure. And also, I agree with you. He looked kind of hesitant, thought he was very conservative, thought he was constantly worried about pressure that wasn't there. Wasn't that impressed with him at all. And I really think a healthy 49ers team, like, this is a matchup that you could see the holes in Houston. Like, I don't think Houston really outplayed. Now, I shouldn't say that. They definitely outplayed the 49ers. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think Houston was impressive to me in this win. It was more like the 49ers were horrible.
When you hear Niners didn't have a first down until late in the second quarter, and when you hear the time of possession discrepancy and all that stuff, you think, oh, Houston must have looked really good. And it was kind of like, no, like, I see what you're saying. It was very deceptive if you just looked at the box score versus if you watched the game. But
yeah,
so here we go. Niners get the ball.
It didn't feel like Stroud really made like any throws, right? It was just like all like, hey, out route here, slant here on 3rd and 3, out route here on 3rd and 3, slant here on 3rd and 3. He didn't do.
Yep. You're right. There was nothing spectacular about it. Like, I'll just say it now. We'll talk about it later. The throw that Mac Jones makes to Kittle on the touchdown was more impressive than any throw CJ Stroud made the entire day.
Or the throw he made before that Stingley has the late pass breakup on, or the throw he makes to Juwan Jennings, standing in and just throwing it early and trusting him, like near the red zone after Jennings dropped the deep ball, like the redemption catch. Totally agree. And it's funny because Mac Jones was also bad in some areas in this game. He sacked himself a couple of times. And yeah, it's not like he had the greatest game, but yeah, it's one of those things where to me it was like watching a preseason game, the way their offense was going down the field.
It was annoying listening to Daryl Johnston like hype up CJ Stroud when he really wasn't. It was like, dude, we're not
about accuracy on wide open slants with no pressure on him, wide open out routes with no pressure on him.
Right. He's the second pick in the draft. I would hope he'd be able to hit those throws. But Niners get the ball back. They're down 6-0. You're like, hey, one good drive and we have the lead for as bad as we've played. And they start out, and this is something I felt like happened in the Niners too. First down, Christian McCaffrey runs for 8 yards. They would have gains on first down that were good, and then the offensive drive would just stall. And that's exactly what happens here. Second down, Mac Jones drops back. Hennessy, I think, gives up a pressure, incomplete pass. And then on third down, Mac, I think, throws the ball maybe before he needs to, and he throws it basically behind the line of scrimmage on third down. Forget about throwing to the sticks. He throws it behind the line of scrimmage at Demarcus Robinson, who's immediately tackled, and the 49ers have to go 3 and out. It was the first time where I was like, Brock would have made something more out of that play. He would have given him a chance. There were times in this game where Brock's mobility would have at least bought an opportunity to make a play. And against a great defense, sometimes those are the little things that keep you moving in a positive direction on certain plays to help you keep the chains going. They didn't have that option with Mac Jones, and the offense really suffered because of it.
So I kind of 50% agree with you, but it's for a different reason. It's not his mobility, actually. I think the big difference between the two is in this game, like Brock Purdy's mobility definitely an advantage, but also the Texans pass rush, like he's not outrunning them, if that makes sense. Like Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, these guys are like leaner guys that can have closing speed. But I think where Brock Purdy would have made a difference is we saw the limitations of Mac Jones in this game. Now, they couldn't block them whatsoever up front, and that sucks, right? But that's games as a quarterback in the NFL. Like some games, you're just not going to be able to block who's in front of you. But the problem is Mac Jones loses his poise when he knows that his offensive line he's going to be under pressure. When he knows he's going to be under pressure, his process is fast. His process is sped up. Where he needs to go is sped up. Like everything just becomes a little bit more frantic. And the difference between him and Purdy is that when Purdy knows he's getting pressure, he doesn't lose his poise. He stays calm, knowing, okay, I'm going to get pressure. How do I deal with it? Now, that's a big difference to me and why I think Mac Jones. Yeah, I think Mac Jones is a backup. That's why. It doesn't take anything away because I think Mac Jones is good in other areas, as we've seen over the course of this year. But to me, this game was an example of something that really affects him. And it affects every quarterback, but there's an extent in which certain quarterbacks can deal with it and keep their poise with it. And we saw it's everything is a tick second faster. Like he knows they're coming, and he got hit in this game, and he stood in there getting hit. But he also got hit almost like, dude, I'm going to get hit. I don't want to get hit on this play. And it affected his process on other plays when, to your point, he got rid of the ball early. I'm being picky, but if we're comparing him and Brock Purdy, that is a subtle difference where in a game that, you might see the same amount of pressure with Brock Purdy, the offense might run more than 8 plays in, 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
I completely agree. There were times in this game where you saw the internal clock for Mac Jones was sped up when there wasn't pressure, when it was actually blocked up, or maybe there was a little bit of pressure, but he could have stepped up or slid. There were times where he was got to get the ball out, and he didn't need to. And I think he passed up some potential big game plays during the course of the game. So I completely agree with everything you said about the process getting faster. So as a result, the Niners punt, and now Houston takes over with a chance to go up 2 scores, which is, of course, exactly what you can't afford to do if you are the 49ers against this defense, and that's exactly what Houston does. They go on a 10-play, 82-yard march down the field. It takes up 5 minutes and 53 seconds, and even on this possession, Vish, as I just look at my notes, 3rd and 4, chance for the 49ers to get off the field, and Upton Stout gets absolutely bench pressed by Jalen Noel, who on 3rd down, Noel just runs right into him, pushes him off, and gets open for an easy catch for a 1st down. And I'm not even saying it was offensive pass interference. I'm saying Upton Stout is so damn small out there and overmatched at times that it was so easy for Jalen Noel to just run up, extend, turn, catch the pass. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a play for Upton Stout, right? I'm sure he'd like to have back because I think he gave up his spot way too easily on that play. I agree with you. This drive didn't have a lot of resistance, Rob. I think to your point, like that's probably like the Upton Stout play is probably a good epitome of the thematic or the theme, a good theme of what went on this drive.
Well, and here's the frustrating part. So it's 3rd and 4, and they convert because Upton Stout just gets completely moved. And then what happens? Well, 2 plays later, they throw a 44-yard deep ball to Jalen Noel, and all of a sudden, bam, they're right back in business going down the field. Like, you get off the field on that 3rd and 4, that deep pass to Noel doesn't happen, and Houston's not up 10 scores, and the whole tenor of the game is different. But they don't. They give up that 44-yard deep ball. They get another 3rd and 5 later in the drive.
That was that 44-yarder. I'm sorry, I forgot to touch on that too. That was so free, Rob. He ran all the way across the field, and Stroud had all day to wait for him to clear everybody and put that ball up in the air, and he ran under it. It was a nice throw, no doubt about it. But if we're talking about no resistance, Rob, like,
it was a 2-man route on that play. It was a 2-man on that play. If it's the play I'm thinking of, the one I'm thinking of, I think it was a 2-man route, and it was just wait for him to clear, and he did. And there you go. Bam. 44-yard play. Here we go. 3rd and 5. Upton Stout blitzes from the slot. He's in the backfield instantly. But what happens? He can't even prevent Stroud from making a throw. Like, he's there. He's in position to make a play, but Stroud throws it. Now, it was still a big loss. So I want to be fair because Stroud gets it off, but then it was a tackle in the backfield. But, like, Upton, you're there. You got to get him down. It's not enough to just be there and disrupt.
Yeah.
You got to finish.
Yeah, so I'm glad you went to this play. Daryl Johnston made it a positive about him, which was nice. But this to me was not a positive. This is the 3rd time in like 4 weeks where the quarterback has juked him out of his shoes. And CJ Stroud is not a mobile quarterback. Like, if we're talking about foot quickness, he'll be like, okay, Kyler Murray got you, fine. Spencer Rattler got you, fine. Then who got him last week? Was it Michael Penix got him? No, Michael Penix didn't get him the week before. Who did they play the week before?
The week before Atlanta?
Yeah, the week before Atlanta.
Wasn't that the Bucks?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield got him, right? Okay, fine. But
this
is what I'm saying.
Not fine. No, that was the 3rd and 14 play. Hell no.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, but
that was the one. So he's been got a few times in that sort of situation. And this one, you couldn't have called the blitz any better. And I agree with you. It's like the play wasn't like, in the grand scheme of things, is that why they lost? Absolutely not. Is that why this drive was a touchdown? No. But these are the little plays that give your defense confidence and momentum. Like, a big loss is like, oh, we finally, we can stop them. We can put them in 3rd and long. We can get off the field. And instead it's I think it was a 1-yard gain, or was it a 2-yard loss? Something like that, when he dumped it off the Woody Marks.
I think it was even a little more than that. But the point is, any corner that blitzes off the edge like that is going to get in the backfield. Like, Robert Saleh put Upton Stout in the backfield. You got to finish that, man. And he didn't finish. Now, look, it wasn't a horrible play. I don't want to totally dump on it. But the point is, like, it's not enough to just be there. But ultimately, the 49ers can't get the sack there, or strip, right? You could get a strip in that situation too. Nope, they can't get any of that. The drive continues. And then what happens is the Texans...
You're really demanding out here.
Do something, man. Yeah. And then, because then the drive continues, and the Texans do exactly what teams have done against the 49ers all year, which Johnny Dell and I broke down, which, by the way, thank you, Quinn, your YouTube channel member. Really appreciate that. But the Texans changed the strength of the formation right before the snap. They had 2 wide receivers on the right, or more wide receivers on the right. They put somebody in motion. They changed the strength of the formation to have more wide receivers on the left before the snap. They snap the ball, and what happens? The 49ers defense cannot figure out who's who in the zoo, to quote our friend JT O'Sullivan, and they get a wide-open Higgins over the middle in the end zone for the easiest touchdown CJ Stroud has ever thrown. And all of a sudden, oh no, you're down 2 scores, 13-0 against this defense in Houston.
Yeah, totally agree. And for this defense, it's a really good one. This is the ideal game script. They can now pin their ears back and rush the passer on Mac Jones. With their crowd, everything is going. And for the Niners, any iteration of the Niners are not built to play in a game where they're down 13-0 to start. Most teams aren't, but, Niners ideally like to get out ahead. But this iteration of the Niners in particular, they're not built for their offense to have the ball, 9 plays and in 25 minutes and have the other offense dominate the ball like this and then be up 13-0. 13-0 is a consolation, right? The 2 field goals was really good stuff from the defense to hold them to that. But they're not built in any sense of the means to be on the road and have this time of possession discrepancy. Excuse me.
No, it was the exact scenario you want to avoid if you're the 49ers. But that's the situation they're in. So, okay, Niners get the ball back. Here we go. 7.5 minutes in the second. This is like the danger possession because you are like, we have to score something here because we're down to, if we can get it to a 1 possession game, okay, anything can happen. We can stick with our run. We don't have to panic, but we got to get something here. And so what happens for the 49ers when they get the ball? They get stuffed on first down. Christian McCaffrey can't get anything going. Hennessy got beat almost immediately and blows up the run. Second down, they do a play action, kind of a bootleg play, and Juwan Jennings has to down block one guy so that Mac Jones has time to scan the field. And of course, Juwan Jennings can't do it because Juwan Jennings can't block me this year or doesn't seem interested in blocking anybody this year. And JJ has to just dirt that ball. So that's a waste on second down. And now you're in 3rd and long against this defense where you can't protect the passer. And what happens? Mac Jones actually gets decent protection, but because he's all screwed up because he's been under pressure all day, he throws short of the sticks again, and the Niners have to punt. And that was their emergency no possession.
Yeah. He threw short of the sticks to a receiver that was covered.
It was
tackled immediately.
Yeah, it was a 5-yard completion on 3rd and 10, which the Texans are like, here you go.
Yeah. He gets more aggressive the next half. Or the next drive, excuse me. And there's portions of this game where he did just go back there and cut it loose. And when he did that, he made some throws in this game. But to me, there wasn't enough of just going back there and cutting it loose. And I thought this was a moment where they could not go 3 and out. Like, they could not go 3 and out. And I felt like Mac Jones on that 3rd down was conceding the 3 and out a little bit.
It was ugly. It was like, oh no, this was our panic, like break glass in case of emergency possession. And we go 3 plays, 5 yards, and we're out already. That's when I really, really started to worry. And of course, the Texans get the ball.
When you started to worry.
Yeah. Because
you stayed without worrying for a while.
Well, because if they had scored a touchdown on that possession and it's 13-7, you're like, all right, we're okay. It's a 1-score game. Like,
when did you become such a relaxed fan? Is it about this year? Your Mariners were good. Your Niners are 5 and I guess 3 now. Like, you've just had a good year of sports for your team. So you're like, I'll just sit back and watch my team win.
No, I'm like, as bad as we've played to be down 1 score, I would have been thrilled at that point. But of course, that's not what happened. Houston gets the ball back. Again, another chance for them to end the possession. 3rd and 3. Stroud drops back. Alfred Collins gets the big paw up, deflects the ball. Hey, Niners are off the field. Up. No, they're not. Flag. Upton Stout holding. Fish. All Upton Stout does is grab.
Yeah, he's really grabby.
Oh my God. That's all he does.
I don't dislike Upton Stout's talent, and that's why I like feel like him playing through in a very difficult spot to start as a rookie is only better for, it'll only make him better. Like, if he's the kind of player that'll make it, this will make him stronger. He'll learn from this and he'll become a really, really good player. But I just can't help but think, like, Chase Lucas really has flashed in his limited opportunities. And some of the plays he made versus Atlanta specifically, like, shoot, you're not beating Atlanta without him making that play on the 4th down versus Drake London. I thought it was one of the best plays a nickel corner can make. It's a really hard play versus Drake London. And so I'm surprised, honestly. I thought he would get more snaps relative to Upton Stout, honestly, this week based on that. That's how the Niners usually do things, even with their rookies. And so I will say that, but I agree with you. This was a pretty bad holding, especially because the ball got tipped and there's no holding once the ball gets tipped, which means he held. And it's not like Stroud is like just holding on to this ball, right? It's 3rd and 3. He's getting the ball out. And so that means, yeah. He basically grabbed him up the field, which is what he did.
Right. I mean, it was a completely legit call. No question about it. And so that drive continues. Jair Brown later in the drive, Jair Brown blitzes because Robert Saleh knew he had to blitz, and he sends Jair Brown. Jair Brown gets right through. It was a perfect timing. Great. And what happens? Can't finish again. Stroud runs away, scrambles to the outside, gets a first down. Ultimately, once again, it leads to another Houston Texans field goal. And now they're up still 2 scores, but now it's 16 points. It's 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions.
Yep, I agree. And then B-Rob comes in.
Well, this was amazing. So the Texans are up 16-0, and I'm like, thank God they at least held them to a field goal. It's still 2 scores. We have a minute to go. We've got some timeouts. Mac Jones has been good in the 2-minute drill. Let's see what happens. And they kick the ball off. And this kick return, I was stunned by it when I watched it in real time and when I watched it back. It's a 46-yard kick return. It is the slowest 46-yard kick return you will ever see in your life. And it was another classic example this year of me saying, if anybody else has that ball in this spot, this is a touchdown or a much, much bigger play. If anybody with any kind of speed has that ball instead of Brian Robinson, that is probably a touchdown. Now, fortunately for the 49ers, he not only returns it to midfield, but he also has his face mask grabbed during the return. So they get another 15 yards. So the 49ers, who have not moved the ball all day in any way, are starting a drive at the Houston 35-yard line with 50 seconds to go, with timeouts, and getting the ball first after halftime. I'm like, holy crap, we are in a position to come back in this game when we don't deserve this at all.
I totally agree. And then to make things even better, right? The first play, it's great. It's an explosive play to Kendrick Bourne, 17 yards, bang. It's like, okay, the Niners get this. They understand how important this is. They understand, like, oh, this is our opportunity. Despite the fact that we've been horrible in this first half, we can steal this. We can be right in this game, and we can really make Houston have to crap themselves. And it's followed up, right, with I think 2 incompletions. One of them was the throw we talked about earlier. It was a really good throw to Juwan Jennings that Derek Stingley breaks up. And then Mac Jones just makes an aggressive throw on 3rd and 10. Like, he understood the situation. It was very much unlike the last drive where on 3rd and 10, he didn't understand the situation. You know, like, you got to be aggressive and let one go here. He understood the assignment, and he just lets it rip to George Kittle. He throws this ball pretty early. He pings him on the right shoulder here between 3 defenders. It's a great throw up the seam, and George Kittle's a freaking man. The catch is ridiculous. He's the freaking man.
The decision I don't love, but to me it looked like Mac was like, it's 3rd down. We really need a touchdown. Screw it. I'm just throwing it to George Kittle. I do agree. I think he threw it back shoulder on purpose. He was like, I know this is risky. I'm going to try to throw it in the least risky spot and see what happens. And as I continue to say forever, blocking is the second best thing George Kittle does. Like, the fact that George Kittle could have a Hall of Fame career, being connected with a head coach that seems bound and determined to throw the ball to him as little as possible, considering his talent level, is stunning to me. But George Kittle does get the ball. He does hold on. He makes the catch. And I'm like, holy crap, the 49ers are still in this thing, despite playing one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen, because it's 16-7.
Yeah, I'll go a step further with Kittle. I think what sucks about him, and I mean this in like I don't mean that this sucks, honestly, because I don't think anything about Kittle sucks, but I just think, like, from a perception standpoint, this sucks. His stats don't reflect like how great to me he is in terms of like all-time greats, if that makes sense. And maybe he'll stick around a lot longer than I'm expecting, and he'll accumulate enough longevity stats where his stats all of a sudden do look like that. But like, you go look at like Jason Witten's receiving stats to me, and you go look at like some of the receiving seasons Jason Witten had. I saw Jason Witten George Kittle's way better than Jason Witten. It's like not even close. He's a better receiver. He's way better after the catch. Maybe as a blocker, but I don't know. Jason Witten was big in line, but that was about it. George Kittle is special in terms of his movement, his ability to understand angles. Like we talked about it last week. Like to me, if we're talking about tight ends, and it's not like I've had this long lifetime of seeing tight ends where I've seen Ditka and all these people, so I'm not going to get into all of that. Like Tony G, I get it. Gates, I get it. But like in the ones I've really seen in my lifetime, like it's Gronk and then it's Kittle. Like, and Kelsey's freaking amazing too. Like you can put it there, but like in terms of just like talented at being a tight end, and Kelsey might be a greater player than George Kittle, but in terms of just talented at being a tight end, like what's your skill set at being a tight end? It's like the best tight end I've ever seen. He does everything so good. He does everything at an A+ level. It's just like Gronk. And it's unfortunate that despite being that great of a player, I don't know that he'll ever have the stats that reflect that. Like to me, like when we're talking best players in the NFL, and I myself have discredited him from this conversation other times and thought about other 49ers. But like to me, when we're talking about best players in the NFL, like when we're talking about like not just position, just best players in the NFL, like people would say Jamar Chase in the best, like you would say George Kittle to me in something like that. And it's unfortunate because I don't know that his stats will ever be dominant enough for someone to be like, yeah, best player in the NFL. Like we would throw George Kittle in there, like George Kittle, Myles Garrett, Mahomes. I don't know. Oh, wait, Mahomes threw a pick. Oh, another pick. It looks like he's thrown 2 picks. Wait, let's take Mahomes out.
Sometimes that does happen. All right, we got to speed this thing along because we're 45 minutes in and we're not even past halftime yet.
Oh,
I'll say this on the Lenore interception. Okay. I criticized him at first when I thought, oh, he should have gone down. I watched it again at halftime and I rewatched it. I don't criticize him for not going down. Here's the thing. He catches the ball with 5 seconds left. He's on the other side of the 50-yard line. Okay. With 4 seconds left, he crosses the 50. He's at the 40-yard line with 3 seconds left. Yes, in a perfect world, if he goes down there, they got a shot at like a 60-ish yard field goal. But I really do think he catches that ball and he thinks, I'm on the field with a bunch of people that can't tackle. If I take this thing into the end zone and all of a sudden we go into halftime at 16-14 or 16-15, we are right back in this game. I can blow this thing open. I don't expect him to be checking the clock as he's trying to dodge guys. Would it have been a super heads-up play if he did? Yes. But I'm not saying, oh, this was such an obvious, easy thing that he should have done and gone down. I don't blame him for that at all.
So I kind of am in between what the two kind of stands on that, and I'm kind of in between where you are. And he definitely should have gone down. Initially, that's what I thought. I saw the clock. I was like, 3 seconds, 3 seconds. That's what I kept seeing. 3 seconds. Go down, go down, go down, go down. Because to me, at that sort of time, even if it's like a 65-yard field goal, you want to just go out there and kick it and see what happens, right? Like you want to have that shot to get points before the end of the half. Then I kind of watched it back once and I was like, okay, that's really, really hard to do split second. But I kind of disagree with your latter point. I don't think he ever really had a chance to score on that play. And I feel like to me, as a veteran player and as a team captain, I don't think he had a great sense of what to do in that sort of situation. It felt like, I got a pick, got to start running with the ball. And then he started running with the ball, but it didn't feel like he had a sense of, okay, we need to really go for this. So I'm going to return this and I'm going to try and, pitch this to somebody and we're going to try to score this thing. And I'm not saying you need to do that. That's dangerous, but it didn't feel like he had like an idea of doing that to me in terms of the way he returned it. But also it didn't seem like he had wait, I'm catching this ball with 8 seconds left. Like I might have a chance.
5 seconds left.
He's catching 5 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds left. I might have a chance. Like this is the last play of the half. It didn't feel like I felt like he was in between either or to me. That's where I kind of disagree with you. But I do agree with the overall take. Originally, again, I thought he should have. I saw the 3 seconds. I was like, get down, get down, get down. It's too hard to make that decision split second. It's hard to criticize him for that.
He said after the game he didn't know how much time was left, so that's not helping him. But I don't know. It's easy for us to sit here and say that when you're on the field in the moment, you don't know what he's seeing. When he catches the ball, his thought might have been, I got to get down. And then he takes 3 steps and he's like, wait, I see a hole. I'm going to go,
Probably never looked like he thought about getting down.
I mean, how can you pause? How can you, like, we don't know what's going through his head.
No, because like if he thought about getting down, like you could see that in his body language. There would be an indecision, whatever. Like the moment he caught the ball, he just started running.
Well, what do you want him to stand there and twiddle his thumbs? He had to move. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's the point. He wasn't thinking of getting down.
You have no idea what he was thinking. None of us can know what he was thinking. I'm just saying I didn't think it was Daryl Johnson was killing him, like immediately killing him. And I had that immediate reaction, but then when I rewatched it back, I changed my mind. Regardless, we don't know if Pinheiro would have made who knows? But it's an interception. The Niners' interception streak is over. They go into the half down 16-7.
Terrible throw, by the way.
Yeah, it was a terrible throw. But the Niners have a chance to still get back into it, right? They can still double them up. They can get back-to-back scores without having to make a defensive stop, even though I guess technically they did, but Texans were not going to do anything anyway. So here we go. Third quarter, and what do the Niners do when the Texans screw up the kickoff? It was one of the worst kickoffs I've ever seen. Niners get the ball at the 40-yard line. Like Houston is setting you up for a chance to do something.
Perfect.
Yes. And the Niners go 3 and out again on another possession where they started with a 7-yard gain on a pass to Juwan Jennings.
And this is to me where I thought Shanahan was going to take over. Like it was like, oh, no matter what happened, it's 16-7. We get the ball back. Like we're going to put pressure on them. Like now, like there's no defense has been not having the ball for whatever. Like this half, I get to start with the ball. I get to dictate. I get to take it to you. I thought that's what was going to happen. And boy, was I wrong. I thought it was a very bizarre first position from the 49ers, especially when you get the start from the 40-yard line. And then to your point, 7 yards on the first play. Like to me, that's a gimme. They don't even get to third down.
Right. Christian McCaffrey gets stuffed, incomplete on 3rd and 3 to Kittle, and the Niners have to punt. So now Houston gets the ball back, and this possession was just a crusher for me, Vish, because the Niners had multiple third down opportunities. They pin him to the 6-yard line. Thomas Morstead doing the damn thing, setting up the defense to be able to make a stop and get the Niners back into it. It's 3rd and 5 at the 25-yard line, and Houston runs a play. They had 3 guys on one side of the field. All 3 of those guys were open on the play. 2 49ers defenders, Upton Stout and Malik Mustafa, crash into each other, letting one guy open. 2 other guys are wide open, and Stroud actually picks the worst option at that point that only allows Houston to get a first down and not a much, much bigger play. That was the first third down. The second third down was 3rd and 10. A couple plays later at the 33-yard line, Robert Saleh sends 6 rushers. We still can't get quick pressure. They complete the pass. Malik Mustafa cannot tackle Dalton Schultz. He runs for 17 yards, first down. Then, a couple plays later, 3rd and 7 at the 30-yard line. The 49ers just decide we're not going to play. We're not going to do coverage. We don't feel like it. They give up a 30-yard touchdown. Tig is completely lost on the play. And Malik Mustafa at one point is the deep safety. And he has his hips turned completely perpendicular to the line of scrimmage at one point, while the receiver underneath him is crossing his face, catching the ball. And of course, Malik can't flip his hips and chase after this guy who's in a full sprint, and they get a 30-yard touchdown, and it was 23-7 after that.
Yeah, he was going this way, he's going this way. He's like no chance.
No chance
catching him. Yeah, I think you highlighted the greater point. The Niners safeties, Malik Mustafa has, had a rough time coming back from injury, and the rest of them, all 3 of them that have played this year, they've been able to protect the 2 that started for the first part of the season, and now they can no longer protect them. There's a reason Brown got back into this lineup, people.
And it's not because he's very good.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so
right.
23.
And I think we should just leave it at that.
23-7. So here we go. Niners are really desperate now. They get the ball back. Jennings gets a deep pass in this game, in this drive. It is a ball that Mac Jones puts right on the money. It is a ball that we have seen Jauan Jennings catch. He caught it on a very similar pass last year from Brock Purdy against the New England Patriots. It is in his hands, Vish, and you are down multiple scores. And instead of being at the 21-yard line with about 6 minutes left in the third quarter, you then have to mount this drive, the rest of the drive, which takes plays, which takes time off the clock, and it just hinders the 49ers because Jauan Jennings can't catch a pass that is in his hands.
Yeah, and to me, this is like the biggest indication of what happened this offseason has had Jauan Jennings mentally rattled. And he cannot, no matter what he says, what he does, it doesn't change the fact that it is affecting him on the field, because we are seeing him make mistakes that he's not made for 3 years, right? Like, you're talking about the Brock Purdy catch versus the Patriots. That's a more difficult catch than this one. Like, there's more people around him, like, tracking the ball. Like, he made much more difficult catches look routine last year. Like, go back and watch that Rams game. Like, how many catches does this guy make? And he makes another one in this game that was routine. But just the amount of blocks that he's missed that he would never miss before, or he's had like a play where, he had a drop last week that turned into an interception. He has a drop this week. The amount of things that have happened in that sort of sense, Rob, tell me that this is a player who's kind of forcing things. He's pressing for things to happen because he knows what's on the line. And other points in his career, I think he was just playing more naturally. And it sucks to see, because I think Jauan Jennings is a fan favorite, and this is and the end of his Niners tenure is probably going to be quite unceremonial through the end of this year, just the way this year has been going. But it's one of those things. Like,
he knows he's gone. He knows he ain't hitting those incentives. He knows his chance at a bigger payday is down the tubes, and he is playing like it. It's football is a real game played by human beings, real people. This is sometimes what happens. It's hard to get motivated. It's hard to bring the same fire and passion to a job when you know things are winding down and it's not going to go your way. That's just the reality of it. He's
right. I mean, it's not like he's actively like rooting or like thinking. It's just like you can see, like, in his disposition, there's an energy missing. There, like, he feels kind of defeated by everything that happened, because maybe he really thought they would pay him. Maybe they told him the whole offseason, the whole season, like, JJ, you're a guy. JJ, you don't make money. Like, JJ, sign this. And they gave him his extension. He's like, they love me here. They're going to pay me when I ask for money. Dude, it's a corporation. They didn't even pay George Kittle right away when he asked for money. Like, that's how it works. And that might be difficult for him to be going through. I don't know.
Levin is like, that guy wanted $20 million a year. Yeah, they were right not to pay him. Niners handled that situation exactly perfectly, because I think they were proven correct. Now, ultimately, the Niners do still move the ball down the field, in part because of a great play by Jauan Jennings, where it's third down and the Niners are in trouble. It's 3rd and 17. And Mac Jones drops back after a sack, and he throws it to Jauan Jennings right near the goal line, who catches it, makes a tough catch, takes a big hit, and saves the 49ers and allows them to ultimately get a touchdown. And they get the 2-point conversion on a nice play to Demarcus Robinson. And once again, you're like, holy crap, we're not totally dead in the water yet, because it's 23-15. It's a 1-score game.
Yeah, totally agree. This is a great throw and catch. It's a gutsy throw. It's another one where it's like, I know it's 3rd and 17, but we got to get this. So I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to put it out there, and Jauan Jennings goes and makes a play. And it's a much more difficult catch than the one he dropped. Credit to him. It's a great catch. And then, yeah, when they got the 2-point conversion, Rob, I thought, okay, I know that it's a little bit later than I wanted for their offense to get going, but there's a quarter left in this game. They get one stop.
Yep.
I feel really, really good.
Did they get the one stop?
No, they didn't. But I would have accepted the field goal even at that point, looking at 23-15. Okay, it's a 1-possession game. Or excuse me, now you made it a 2-possession game from 23-15 to 26-15. Sorry about that.
Right.
But the next Niners possession, I think, is what made me want to turn off my TV, Rob.
So Houston goes down. There are multiple times in this possession where the Niners lose contain on the edge. Multiple times. Houston takes advantage. They go down. They get the field goal. It's 26-15. All right, now let's get to the Vish turn off the TV point. So the Niners are down multiple scores in this game. There's 9 minutes and 41 seconds left in the game. Christian McCaffrey starts out with the most bizarre play call of the entire day. I don't understand what happens. First of all, Kyle Juszczyk
pass.
Yes. Kyle Juszczyk is confused on where to go on the play. Mac Jones finally points him out. It ultimately ends up with Juice, Kittle, and Trent Williams to the left. And before the play, George is motioning out wide. He goes from the middle of the receivers to motioning out wide. Mac Jones takes the snap in the most casual posture you've ever seen, throws a backwards pass to Christian McCaffrey. It wasn't a halfback pass, Vish, because there's no receiver for him to throw to. So it was just a straight up screen that gets absolutely demolished, and the Niners lose 5 yards, and the possession is cooked.
Yeah, and Daryl Johnston kept saying, oh, I thought they were setting up the backward pass. I thought they were setting up the backward pass, but it didn't really look like that. It just felt like a screen that got busted from the beginning. Yep.
It was maddening because the possession was over at that point. It's done, and you're desperate to get something going, and after one play, you're done.
And I don't. Maybe they thought, oh, let's get them with the screen. They've been aggressive on us the whole drive, or excuse me, the whole game. I can't talk right now. Sorry about that. But the whole game. But I don't know that they ever got in a rhythm of getting, like, even their scoring drives, right? It felt like they had a couple plays that allowed them to get down the field, or they had good field possession, but I felt like they never got into a rhythm with Houston's defense where they could have them off beat in any way to, like, oh, now they're coming up the field and let's catch them with this screen. Because it's not like they had that many first down plays against this Houston defense, because they had so many 3-and-outs in most of their possessions.
Yeah, it was a complete opposite. The Niners were never in a rhythm. The Texans were always in rhythm. CJ Stroud, drop back, no pressure. First read, open. Drop back, first read, close. Well, scan over here. CJ Stroud got in a rhythm, no problem, and the 49ers never did. So they punt on that possession. Then the Niners actually make their only stop of the day, or their first stop of the day, with 4.5 minutes to go in the game. They forced the Texans to punt for the first time. They, of course, pinned the 49ers to the 1-yard line, because at that point, why the hell not, right?
By the way, I thought Sky Moore just let this go.
Because he doesn't want to get in trouble for fielding punts inside the 5-yard line again.
Did he catch this? Whoa, did this bounce? I thought it bounced outside the 5. I thought he could have caught this maybe.
He might have caught it, but it was, it would have been another one of those. By the way, Iceman 0072, thank you very much. Says all the pre-snap motions don't help when in hurry. Thank you very much, Iceman. We appreciate it. By the way, I should have mentioned on the previous possession, Mac did throw a ball to Jordan Watkins, who's finally out on the field for the first time. Perfect pass that Jordan Watkins just lets go right through his fingers on third down. Would have given the Niners a first down. He should have caught it, but he was also in his first ever game as a professional, so I'm going to cut him a little slack. But I'm sure Kyle's going to be like, that's why you never play, and you're never playing again.
Yeah, well, Jordan Watkins' mom is going to be watching this thinking like, oh, this Rob guy is so sweet. He's nice to my son. And then 2 years later, Jordan Watkins is going to make some mistake, and Rob is going to be on the post game like, Jordan Watkins, better catch that ball right now. And Jordan Watkins' mom is going to be scratching her head like, Rob used to love my son.
I still do. Right now I want to, I'm done. I am done with Kendrick Bourne and Juwan Jennings. I don't need to see them out on the field ever again. They're limited physically. Kendrick Bourne still doesn't know where to line up. He doesn't know. And Juwan Jennings is just half-assing it out there. He's in another dream. He's in another world. I don't need to see them out anymore. Give me the young guys. Give me the hungry guys. Please, Jacob Cowing, can you freaking get healthy so we could just have Cowing on the field and Jordan Watkins? And if they screw up, I'll live with it. I can't watch 84 and 15 anymore. I just can't.
I agree with 15. 84 is the one that's a head scratcher to me, because the thing with Kendrick Bourne is he makes mistakes in every game. And the reason I would understand not playing a rookie, right, is you feel like when the rookie makes mistakes, it's not just himself that he's hurting, but he's hurting the other 10 players, because if he's not doing his job, then it affects the whole play, right? Because the idea is that everybody knows their job and they do their job. And that's where the Bourne one just makes me scratch my head. I cannot stand what I shouldn't say this. I love watching the 49ers. I'm thankful for every player on the 49ers, but I can't believe it's 2025 and I'm watching this all over again with Kendrick Bourne, dude. And
Yeah,
he's even slower than he was in 2019.
of course he is, because he's had another ACL since then too, unfortunately. I'm just done with it, man. I can't wait to see. They asked Kittle after the game, like, do you ever dream about what it would be like to actually get to play with the starting people on the team? And he was like, yeah, but also this is the reality that we're living in. Like, it's yeah, everybody knows the injuries are bad. Anyway, Niners get the ball back. Mac moves him down the field. He ends up throwing an interception to Juwan Jennings, or on a pass to Juwan. I have no problem with it. They're trying to make a play. They're down 2 scores. It's a 2-minute warning. He was under a little bit of pressure. He took a one-on-one shot. I'm not sitting here blaming Mac Jones for that particular one. It was just a bad all-around day for the 49ers offense. And I maintain that the defense deserves the biggest slice of blame pie, because they didn't stop Houston until the fourth quarter, and they couldn't get any pressure on him when everybody's gotten pressure on him. A lot of people in the chat yesterday were blaming the offense first.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'll blame the offense too, dude.
You blame the offense first?
I will 100% blame the offense. I think Kyle Shanahan nailed it. Like, they were bad in all phases. Like, if there was ever a team loss, this is a team loss. Like, they got their butts. You're right. Special teams was okay, but I would say special teams was low-key a net positive. Like, this was a good special teams game for the 49ers, so I'll give them that. But they were pretty bad. One point on the pick, he threw the ball a little bit inside on that pick, but he was just trying to give him a chance on a go ball.
Yeah.
Kamari Lassiter ate up Juwan Jennings. Like, to me, this is why Juwan Jennings, you're not a $15 million receiver. It's the number 2 corner on the Houston Texans, and he's not scared that you're going to run by him once in that game. He was not scared of you. And, like, if you're paying a $15 million receiver, guess what? Every corner in the NFL needs to be scared of. He's going to run by me. He's going to run by me on some play. And so that's one thing. I don't want to be the piling on Juwan Jennings. He's had a very good career as a 49er. I think it's a tough circumstance. Like, I empathize with this circumstance, but we're also talking about, players like commodities at times because of the salary cap. And there is a level to how much you're worth based on how much you pay someone relative to the cap. And that's where I stand with Juwan Jennings. Now, the other point I wanted to touch on, Rob, and I blinked out. So what were you talking about right before I went to the pick? The offense versus the defense. Excuse me. Yes. Yeah, why I think the offense deserves most blame, Rob, is the first 3 and outs in the first half. Like, the 16-play drive to me was bad, right? Like, Houston's offense did nothing. But I also felt like there were a lot of places where the Niners defense was overmatched, right? They don't have George Kittle. They don't have Christian McCaffrey. They don't have Trent Williams. They're starting rookies everywhere, galore. They're trying to reinsert Malik Mustafa while reinserting Jair Brown, while having to play up and stout, and he's having to learn his position. They're inexperienced. They're losing defensive linemen left, right, center. They're getting lined up by Tatum Bethune, who's not Fred Warner. He can't communicate the same way Fred Warner does in terms of Robert Saleh's message. And so I have a little more leniency to the defense giving up a couple of 16-play drives, if that makes sense. What I hate is the offense following that up by going 3 and out in 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and giving the defense the opportunity to have to go back on the field. And then, okay, they go down 10 plays. Like, yeah, that sucks. Like, this is a team loss, as we said. Again, 3 plays. Like, I think the offense never broke the momentum. And I don't even think it was a case of Houston's pass rushers dominated the game, because it wasn't like the 49ers ran enough plays for us to even find out how this matchup looked. And when they did run enough plays on drives, I didn't feel like every play was Will Anderson in the backfield hitting Mac Jones, if that made sense. Like, when Mac Jones stood in there and was backing himself to let that ball go, Niners offense had some success. And they ran it too, not bad.
When he actually got protected, I thought Mac did some good things. But you could say all that about the defense, Vish. Same thing applied last week, and they held Atlanta to 10 points. Like, it was, you couldn't make a stop until the fourth quarter.
But the offense was holding the ball last week, right? Like, that's a big difference.
Care. You don't get,
it's complimentary football.
You couldn't get a pressure on CJ Stroud, a pressure. Nobody, they couldn't block anybody all year long, and you couldn't get one.
This defense doesn't have a lot of talent right now.
Neither do the Texans. That's the point. And the Texans were missing.
But the offense has all pro Christian McCaffrey, right? We were talking about him as an MVP. People were talking about him nationally as a dark horse MVP candidate. I mean, Trent Williams is going to the Hall of Fame after this year. See what I did there?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, you have Juwan Jennings, who's playing for a contract. Like, I don't want to compare this on both sides.
Man, he sucks.
I don't want to compare this on both sides, but there's a lot more veteran good players on this offense in terms of players you can play with and succeed with versus the defense, which on every level is missing every key player besides Diamador Lenore.
Again, I'm not saying the offense was good by any stretch. It wasn't. It was terrible. They were both terrible.
Agreed.
The defense did not do their job in any way, shape, form, or fashion. The offense,
but I think after the first drive, the offense played into what the defense can do. Like, you're on the field for 10 minutes and then your offense is on the field for a minute and then you got to go back on. Like, that's not going to make you get off the field any faster.
Yeah, but it's also not like, oh, well, the offense went 3 and out. Oh, okay, we're off the hook. Our defense doesn't have to do anything because the offense.
I don't think anybody's saying they're off the hook. We both have already agreed that both were terrible. But in comparing the two, I do feel like the offense's transgressions in this game were worse than the defense's.
How could they be worse than the defense's when the defense did not make a stop, did not sack CJ Stroud,
did not ran less plays in the first half than the Houston Texans did in their first drive? That was your stat. There you go.
Because the defense couldn't get Houston off the field.
It's not make it take it, Rob.
What are you talking about? The offense, the
ball gets kicked off. They couldn't get off the field. They kicked it off. And then what did the Niners do? 3 plays.
Yeah. And what did the Niners defense do? Nothing.
Yeah, agreed.
You're saying the offense can't, they can't ever go 3 and out.
I'm saying the offense can't go 3 and out 3 times in a row, especially when the defense holds them to 2 field goals in that non-stops. When you're down 13-0, when you run, what do they run? 9 plays in 3 drives?
10 plays.
10 plays in 3 drives. How many yards did they gain? Did they gain 20 yards?
They gained 15 yards.
Okay, 10 plays. You're down 13-0 when your offense is run 10 plays for 15 yards in 27 minutes, Rob. Your offense is the issue. Offense is the issue.
I'm not saying the offense was good. I'm saying when you can't get Christian McCaffrey a touch in the first quarter because Houston has the ball for 12 plus of the 15 minutes, when Houston's offense, number 1, is not good, and number 2, you sit here and talk about the stars the Niners defense was missing. Houston was missing guys on offense too. Nico Collins didn't play in this game. Their other wide receiver didn't play in this game. They're out there with Braxton freaking Berrios, and he's cooking the Niners defense.
Yeah, Niners defense sucks, dude. Straight up sucks. Anyway. I won't disagree. I don't think if you wanted me to tell you the truth, I think the Niners don't have a good safety at the moment. I don't think they have a good safety. I think they have one linebacker who flies around and another linebacker who's still learning the position. And even the flies around guy, I think he got a little overrated the first 6 games of the season. But he runs around. Okay. I think they have one talented defensive lineman, another talented defensive lineman versus the run, and then you, Sacred Intuition, and Tony Nagatani from the Tat. Those are just the first 2 names I could hear that close out the defensive line. You, Charlene Crossley, and Sacred Intuition as the corners after Diamador. Like, I'm kind of joking because, like, you expect more from Renardo Green, who was really hyped up this year and all of these sorts of things. But this defense is really like, it's like the COVID game for the 49ers offense, right? Like, there's nothing for this defense to go off of. Like, who wins a one-on-one matchup? Yeah, there you go, Jan. You should have had yourself in the chat earlier. I'd have read you.
Jan said I could play safety. At this point, they may give you a call, Jan. I mean, it is that bad. By the way, every linebacker on this team is hurt, and Nick Martin still can't get on the field. Yeah. They set a 3rd-round pick on fire when they drafted it. That is a wasted draft pick. He still can't get on the field.
I was someone who defended the draft pick, and my entire impression of it was, they got him here to start. Like, they got him here because he's going to compete for their linebacking job day one, and I would have expected that, okay, if he didn't win it, he would be the first guy off the bench because it's like, let's develop him. That means they must not be seeing what they want to see in practice, which I agree, red flag.
And you know what I noticed too in this game? The Niners have too many Jekyll and Hyde players. Too many players that are good at one part of the job and horrible at the other. Upton Stout, physical tackler, yes, decent, good in the run game, can't cover anybody. Can't cover anybody at all. Not even close. Michael Williams, fantastic against the run. Cannot get a pass rush to save his life. Cannot do it. Malik Mustafa and Marquise Siegel, good safeties against the run, good blitzers. Can they cover anybody? Nope. There are way too many guys on this team that are half a player. Give me a guy that's average at the whole job instead of a guy that's really good at half of it.
I see your point, and I think that does stand. And for the most part, right, like you have very few NFL players who can do more than just like one thing. They're so good they can do 5 different things in terms of roles on the field. So I do think that your point applies. I will say slow your roll a little bit, in my opinion. With Michael Williams, what he does against the run in terms of his age and stature, it is impressive for his physical presence. Now, why he wasn't looked at as this, can't miss top 10 cinch pass rusher pick like Von Miller, for example, was looked at, was because the entire pass rushing element of his game is very raw. But guess what, Rob? This is why we're paying $1 million to a defensive line coach. He should be developing the pass rush part of his game. And I will say one thing that's made me kind of interested in terms of the Michael Williams pick altogether is the comparison they've always thrown out actually for him is Eric Armstead. It's almost like they look like it is size and length as Eric Armstead, which is kind of weird to me because Eric Armstead coming out wasn't ever looked at as an edge player, right? He was always looked at as this is 6'7", 290, and the Niners actually drafted him as a 5 technique, and everybody thought this is Calais Campbell. This is a 2-gapping 5 technique. And then he went through a bunch of shifts in his career, but now, he plays as a 3 technique in a 1-gap scheme. It's an interesting thing, but they kind of looked at Michael Williams as their like big end with his ability essentially with those arms to be able to set an edge and set a hard edge, which he's done well. Now, the pass rush part of his game, to me, it's still a complete work in progress. We knew it was going to be in work in progress, and this is on their coaching. And so we're going to find out on it. But there is potential. It's not like he has no pass rush talent, if that makes sense. Like his size, his explosion, these sorts of things are tools that you can work off of to build a pass rusher. And if they don't, it's going to be partially his fault, and we're going to be able to come out here and say something about Chris Cassari. In Upton South's case, I think there's 2 issues. One, I think technique-wise, he's grabby all over the place. And my question with why he's grabby is 2 things. One, I think that there's just too much going on for him right now. And that's the hard part with playing nickel in the NFL. And I think teams are making it a point to make Upton Stout think every week. Upton Stout, we're going to make you go in motion. We're going to make your guy go in motion. That means your gap changes in the run game. Now you were the short zone. Now you're the deep zone. These small things, because he kind of is the nickel in his own scheme, which means that he has to take on the responsibilities of the 3rd linebacker in the run game, which sometimes involves filling the B-gap bubble, for example. But then also in coverage, right? He takes on the responsibilities of a nickel, which means he has to man up sometimes. It's a big thinking job. And I feel like he's thinking on the job instead of just reacting and playing, which is really hard to do. Now, as he develops, we'll find out, Rob, if it's all just thinking or if there is a technique issue or a gap for him where all this grabby stuff, he's just not that good in coverage. I tend to think like talent-wise, he's okay, but he hasn't done anything for me to be like, yep, that's 100% the case. We're about to find that out through his career. Siegel, like, I think there was a lot of high expectations for Siegel. Like, oh, this is a 5th-round rookie that's starting. This is awesome. Like, dude, Lorenzo James started as an undrafted free agent rookie at safety for the 49ers in 2017. Okay, like sometimes these sorts of things work out. And Niners had no safeties in camp. He kind of won the job. I think He tackles well. I think he plays with poise for a rookie. It's not all that talented, and I think some of the limitation in his game's coming down in terms of the angles he takes to the ball, tackling in space. These sorts of things got exposed. Now, he's good at tackling if he wraps up on the guy. He brings the guy down, but there's so many tackles he didn't attempt that you wouldn't know that he missed because he never attempted them, and that was, what was missing with him. Mustafa, I think it's just coming back from the injury, Rob. That's what I want to say, because this is not the player that he looked like last year. I still think we see glimpses of him coming down with utmost violence. There was a play in this game where he comes from about like 15 yards and he nails the guy at about 4 yards. It's a pretty great hit. And so that still exists, but he's been rough this year. I thought, they overrated him a little bit by, saying like, yeah, Mustafa's a guaranteed starter. But now I think Mustafa's more a guaranteed starter because in their mind, Pinnock, Siegel, and Jair Brown are definitely not starters. Well, and Mustafa's got the best skill set in terms of being a starter. So I know what your point is, and I do think it exists for NFL players altogether. But I think those four, besides maybe as much Siegel, and maybe even he has a chance to. Like, he's a 5th-round pick. He's started as a rookie, which is a huge deal. He's on a great trajectory. But yeah, I think there's still a good chance for those guys. I think it sucks because they're having to grow up a lot faster than we expected. Like, this was supposed to be you grow up, but you grow up with Nick Bosa by your side and Fred Warner by your side. But now it's like, hey, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner are gone. You're the man of the house, Michael Williams.
Yeah, sometimes, you get thrown into the pool and it's sink or swim. And I agree. And I think we saw, like, Michael Williams looked much better with Nick Bosa next to him. Like, that's not breaking news. Of course, he's going to look better with the better people around you. But like, why do they always have to start from like square one with half the job? Like, Michael Williams has no bag as a pass rusher. None. He has none. Now, it doesn't mean he can't get it. He very well could get it. And I'm sure with Saleh and hopefully Bosa there helping him out, and he could develop it, and he has a whole offseason. This is, 7-8 games into his NFL career. But damn, man, it's hard to build all that up in one offseason.
But to your point, no, the problem is not every draft has Nick Bosa, okay, who checks every single physical box, and he's also ready to go day one from a technique standpoint. In a draft, you're either going to get a guy who's good to go from a technique standpoint, but he's Chase Winovich, or you're going to get Michael Williams, who's everything you could ever want physically from a pass rusher, but he's still a work in progress.
That's not necessarily true. It's not all one or the other. Sometimes they're a guy, like, again, you took him
in this draft. In this draft, it was. Where else were they going to go for a pass rusher? The other guy was Shamar Stewart, who was a similar sort of thing.
I agree that maybe they shouldn't have taken a pass rusher. Maybe they should have gone to another position. Like, again,
they needed to pick this player, dude. They needed the guy to set the edge.
Yeah, and he has done that great. It's just very frustrating. And again, it's not just about Michael. It's about like all the guys that I named. They're really good at half the job, and that is biting them in the ass this year. And maybe
Rob, let me ask you this, okay? I hire you to be the producer. I'm ESPN now, okay? I'm ESPN. Move over, Bob Iger. Vish is ESPN. And I hired the number one producer in the country, Rob Guerrera, okay? Yeah. You're my producer. But then I tell you, guess what? Hey, Mike Greenberg, he lost his voice yesterday. His vocal cords are affected. So guess what, Rob? From day one now, I hired you to be Mike Greenberg's producer and then maybe do like a couple hits on the side with him. I think you're really talented, and I want to make you my on-air talent, but I want to develop you in the job. But now it's like, look, from tomorrow, you're the guy at Get Up every single day. And then for you, there's some guy on Twitter, let's call him Robbie Guerrera instead of Rob Guerrera, and Robbie Stats is tweeting, he's like, get Rob Guerrera off TV, man. The guy is not ready to be an on-air talent. This guy is talking like a producer on TV. What would you say?
I would say I see what analogy you're trying to make, but it's not accurate because producer and host are two totally different jobs. What I'm talking about is...
Yeah, I know. I lost myself a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Matthew Bolt says Rob would kill it. See you, Greeny. Well, Greeny is the most talented guy I've ever seen. So I'm not going to disparage Mike Greenberg in any way. And he taught me so much about the business, but I appreciate the support. The point is, what the Niners have done is they've hired an on-air
Greenberg unless Robbie G is producing his show.
What the Niners did is they hired an on-air host who's really good at setting up the segments and doing all that stuff, but can't interview anybody at all. Like doesn't know how to interview anybody at all. That's the difference.
But that's what you do, right? Like, if you have the skills to interview someone, I can't expect you to be a finished product when I hire you. I then take what you have you excel at what you have, and then get you to interview someone. That's why I pay Chris Kazarick $1 million. You see how this came around? You see how this worked out for me?
It's always good as long as you can tie it back to Kazarick. And look, I do agree. Like, but that is a real thing, right? That is like, hey, we recognize this part of his game is deficiency, but we think we can overcome that with number one, the people around him. 2, Robert Saleh, and 3, this defensive line coach that we think is really good.
But also him, right? Like not everybody is 6'5", 265, and they get out of bed 6'5", 265. Like Michael Williams, he just ate everything that was given to him in Georgia. Like there was no additional supplements, all these things to get to 265. He became 18, he was 260. He turned 19, he was 265. He turned 20, and he's in the NFL.
If you're saying to me, what I think they got in Michael Williams is Eric Armstead, which is a damn fine player, a really good player. Like, if you tell me Michael Williams is going to be on this team for the next decade and he's going to set the edge and stop the run and has the potential as a pass rusher if he's got guys around him like Nick Bosa, like Eric Armstead did when he had 10 sacks in 2019, yeah, great. I'm thrilled with that. But let's not, Eric Armstead is Eric Armstead. Fine player, but not, Nick Bosa, not a guy that if you take in the top 10 or 11, like Armstead was the 17th pick. He was after the middle of the first round. Michael is closer to the top 10. Anyway, we don't need to get bogged down on Michael Williams because we've been talking.
I don't know.
An hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. We'll see.
Tony says Michael is a better prospect than Armstead was, and he was the 17th pick. We'll see. I mean, we'll see if he's a better prospect. He's really good against the run. He's awesome against the run. I friggin' love watching him defend the run. It's phenomenal. It's just, sometimes your NFL career gets a little derailed. Stuff happens, right? Mike McGlinchey was starting at guard in his first ever NFL game, a position he had never played before because of all the injuries. Like, stuff happens. And so far, when it comes to sink or swim, a lot of those guys have sunk for the 49ers to this point. And look, they win against the Giants next week. They're 6-3. They're in fantastic shape. So as bad as we feel this week, we could feel a lot better next week.
Yeah. I'll put it to you like this, right? Armstead was a 9-year starter after they drafted him. Him in 2015. He started 9 years. Okay, that's fine. And Michael Williams turns out to be that's a good player, right? Like you're happy with that in the grand scheme of things. You just said that too. But I think there's also a second element of it too, of when we have the 11th pick and we already have Nick Bosa, like we have the ability to draft to what our defense would need in that spot. Like we don't have to go get the most talented pass rusher in the draft because our defense doesn't need the most talented pass rusher in terms of like one-on-one pass rushing talent. It needs an all-around defensive end to complement his skill set. And so I do think there's an element of, again, like you're drafting guys to fit a role in your defense. You're thinking about your defense as the whole. Like you need a guy who you feel like is going to complement the skill set of the rest of your line. And I feel like now that everybody's hurt, you're asking Michael Williams why he's not Myles Garrett. And shit, dude.
That sounds an awful lot like, well, we don't have any holes on our team, so we'll just take a kicker in the 3rd round. That's what your explanation just sounded to me. No. We don't need to go get the best pass rusher. You always need the best pass rusher. Period. You can
obviously they didn't draft him thinking he wasn't a pass rusher, but I'm talking about in terms of the most refined pass rushing skill set for day one. Like if they didn't have Bosa, they might say, okay, we can't afford to develop Michael Williams for 2 years because we need a guy who can go get the pass rusher, who can go get the quarterback, not go get the pass rusher from day one because, Cassius Marsh is our best rusher. And that's where, that's the difference.
Benali, I agree with you. She says this team was building to 2026. People just bought into a 3-0 start too much.
No.
I do think they're building towards 2026, but if this team had Bosa,
If they have Bosa and Warner, they're
or Warner, either one. They would be it would be much different. They might
if they have Warner, I don't know that they aren't 6-1 or 7-1. Like, I know they beat Houston. I feel like they beat Tampa Bay with Warner.
They would have been a lot different. We've
with Bosa and Warner. To me, they have one of the best defenses in the NFL by this point.
Yeah, if they had both, well, forget it. Yeah, I'm not getting greedy. I just want one. Can we have one?
Like to me, the idea of 3-0 start, maybe they would have been a better version of themselves in 2026. But it's just like the Rams the first year they had Jared Verse and Braden Fisk to pair with the second year Kobe Turner. Like, they were going to develop this team by the end of the year. Like, you don't have a playing for 2026 when you fork over $15 million to your running back, $20 million to your tight end, another $20 million to a receiver. You pay your quarterback $50 million in the offseason. You don't do all of that and then say, hey, we're going to find out about our team this year.
It was both, right? It was we if everything goes right and our rookies are what we think they are, we could compete in 2025. But really, the expectations we have for 2026 are major contender. Whereas 2025, it was like we could do some
build ourselves into a major contender.
Exactly.
But you expected to make the playoffs. You looked at that schedule like 100%. You weren't thinking, this season might be a 50-50.
Yeah, no, I was expecting playoffs for sure. I said it again and again. Get to the playoffs and see what happens. And you know what? If they had gotten to the playoffs with Bosa and Warner,
they still might make it, dude.
I was like, who knows where they could have gone. But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're checking us out for the first time, we go through every Niners game drive by drive on this show. We call it Under Review. Please, if you've already subscribed, tell a friend. Thank you to all our YouTube channel members. Thank you to everybody that became a YouTube channel member on the show. You get custom emojis, membership badges, which is what I couldn't remember last night, and priority comment response. We appreciate you all so much. And I appreciate you, Vish, coming right from work, hauling ass to get here for the show. Thank you, my friend.
Promo code GSP, guys. I love this show. Let's go. Show holder value.
We'll talk to you next week.